And they're one of Iowa's most historic racing families, the Rolands, the patriarch Roger and Judy Roland. We've got Duane Roland here. Connie Roland, your wife is with you. Welcome to the Meadowlands, Duane.
Thank you, Ken.
It's great to have you here, and I was expecting Taylor Swift, but you're not a disappointment.
Okay, well, that's good.
You've waited a lifetime for this horse, Roland N Rock. Tell us a little bit about the horse and his background.
Well, we went to Harrisburg when the Peretti farms were selling out all their Rock and Roll Hanover and their mares in full of rock and roll, and I'd always wanted to buy one, so we had some extra money and we went out there, and the first two that came along that were in our price range, I bought them both, and this one happened to be the cheaper one and foaled Roland N Rock, and it's just been one enjoyable ride to get to this point.
Hank's Chip was the mare. She had some pedigree, or has some pedigree, purchased in full, as you mentioned, to Rock and Roll Hanover. And you said that there's no better than Rock and Roll Hanover. So you had certainly a penchant for those, right?
Yeah, I mean, all we ever read about was Rock and Roll this and that, and I was like, this is our opportunity to actually get one because we couldn't afford the stud fee to actually breed to him. So we ended up buying one of the mares.
And, there's a lot of luck in this business. This horse was, what, a $6,000 purchase? The mare was $6,000, right? And
that's correct.
You also purchased one for $9,000. You used the money from the breeding awards, right?
Yeah, in Iowa we have a Breeders' Award program that pays 8%, and then the Sires' Award pays another 4%. And so that year our payout was about $15,000, and so that's what we went and spent.
And as a 2-year-old, he raced basically on the Iowa Fair circuit, right? And there was one particular fair race where things really started to stand out as far as this colt was concerned, right?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really know what we had at first, and we just started racing him, and then we get to Oskaloosa. And
Oskaloosa?
Oskaloosa, Iowa. Yeah, right in the center of the state. And the track there, it's a car racing track, and the turns are banked pretty good. The surface is plenty hard, and he ends up pacing in 159 with the last half in 57-2, which was the fastest last half any horse had ever paced in Iowa. And the other horse that actually had went like 57-3 or 4 was Panoramic Art, which had raced here at the Meadowlands.
We're very familiar with that horse, of course, winning series finals here and a long winning streak as well. And Laugh and Be Happy was another one, right? That your family produced, right?
That was another mare we had. She was by Badlands, Hanover, and I got to drive her a few times at Prairie Meadows, and I won 3 races with her before we brought her out here, and she ended up getting sold to Eric Cherry.
And this horse, you brought him out here as a 2-year-old late in his 2-year-old season and raced him at Balmoral Park, right? Or no, Springfield, right?
Yeah, after that race at Oskaloosa, then we had another fair where he went in 159, and then the next week we went down to Springfield to see how fast he would go, and he went in 51 when John DeLong was driving him, and then after we took him up to Chicago for the American National, and he won easily again there too.
And he was a supplement to that race, right? $8,500?
It was $8,500 that we had to pay to get him in there. And
there's John DeLong right there. And when he got off the bike, what did he say to you? He was pretty excited,
yeah,
wasn't
he was very excited. He's like, this horse is just awesome. Down at Springfield, he thought that mile would have been maybe 49 at Pocono, which, as a 2-year-old, that would put him right up there with the very best ones.
Now, at what point then did you start to map out his 3-year-old season, start to stake him?
Pretty much right after Springfield.
Right after that, yeah.
We went back home, and it was amazing how much easier he could go. Then we went to another fair at Watcher, Iowa, and he won back-to-back in 158 2 weeks in a row.
These are like half-mile tracks, right?
Half-mile tracks.
Yep. Bull rings, as they say.
Bull rings, people would say, yes.
Yeah, right.
Not both Humboldt and Watcher got redone by Dan Kuhn.
Okay.
He came out and redid them. And so they're not terrible, but they're compared to Yonkers and the Meadowlands, they're like nothing.
Right. And now you've got him staked to the Meadowlands pace, of course, and the Carl Milstein, Battle of Brandywine, Circle City, Jenna's Beach Boy, Messenger, Matron, and Progress pace. Have I got that right?
Yep.
I think I've got that mapped out.
Hopefully they'll get things straightened out in Chicago and still have the American National and the Maywood, the Windy City pace.
Windy City, okay, on a half-mile track. He should be able to handle that. Now, let's just go back to last week. He won the landmark at Goshen, took a spin around there. First time John Campbell, right?
Yeah.
And John had a glowing review. He said you could tell the horse had been to the winner's circle. He's great gaited. He's got great manners, and he'll be very adaptable to the mile track.
Yeah, I mean, the horse is unbelievably smart. I mean, he does what you want him to do. When John came in there and he was standing like a statue, he was like, wow, this is a really nice horse. And in that race at Goshen, he used him a couple times. I mean, I was actually glad that Schnedeker parked him because it made him actually work harder.
Ray Schnedeker parked him?
Yeah, he parked him to the quarter and then parked him again. And I guess that's why they call him Stingray.
Absolutely. Well, that's his place. That's his. Those are his home stomping grounds. Now, you have a big farm back in Iowa. Tell us about that. You're a farmer, basically.
Basically,
but the horses are your hobby, right?
Yeah, I like to call it my hobby, but we have about 1,500 acres that we operate on, and that's what generates our cash flow. And then we have right now about 75 to 80 horses.
You also know who's going to be president, right?
Yeah.
Living in Iowa.
Living in Iowa. We'll see how that turns out.
All right, so again, a feel-good story in the Glamour Boy division. Waukesha Hanover in the arsenal, and Wiggle It, Jiggle It, part of that vein. You've got Post 3, Race 11 tomorrow night. How is he going to stack up? The big question is, can he make that step to the top level and do it rather early in his season? What do you think?
I think he'll be fine. We had to get our other stuff done at home before we could bring him out here, and I really didn't want to send him to anyone. I wanted to do it all myself, and it just worked out that we actually raced him. I mean, basically those fairs in Iowa are like racing him in a qualifier, to get him ready to come out here. And I really wanted to race him at Goshen. It was close to Mark Ford's farm where we're staying at, and it would be just one more training mile leading up to this. And hopefully this is another step up that he can handle. I mean, coming off the fair races and going to Chicago, he was improving about 8 seconds. So that fair at Eldon when he went in 55 and 4, I mean, I truly believe that he's going to go somewhere between 48 and 49 here.
And he's not for sale.
And he's not for sale.
But the phone's ringing off the hook anyway.
I've had many calls, but you can't put a price on the experience of what we're going to be able to do this year and where he's going to be able to take us.
He began his career racing in a $1,000 race at the Eldon Fair in Iowa. So from humble beginnings to possibly the Meadowlands Pace Winner's Circle. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. I hope that actually happens.
Well, we've got, once again, Duane Roland here. Say hi to your wife. She's right over there.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. And enjoy your stay in the area. I understand you visited the Hall of Fame. And
yeah, we've already actually been down to the Hall of Fame twice, and there's so much to see there. I'm sure I'll be there a couple more times.
Best of luck to you. It's a pleasure talking to you, and we hope you have a lot of success with Roland N Rock, the undefeated horse in the Meadowlands Pace second elimination race 11 tomorrow night. Thanks for joining us. Best of luck.
All right. Thank you, Ken.